Hello students, my name is Vaishali and I'm a faculty in School of Finance and Commerce, Galgotias University. I welcome you all to this presentation and the topic that we'll be covering is organizational structure. So let's get started with the presentation. The concepts discussed in this presentation are separation of direction and management, then the concept of scalar chain, span of control, type and tall and flat organization, offshoring, shared service center, and finally formal and informal organization. So let's discuss these concepts in detail. The first concept is separation of direction and management. So students, as we know that generally ownership and management of larger organizations are separated. They are managed by different people, and this is especially common in larger companies where the owners, that is our shareholders, elect their directors to run the company on their behalf. So in order to ensure that directors are running the business in the best interest of the owners, many safeguards and controls are put in place. Direction and management may also be separate in larger organizations, as directors may lack the time to deal with each and every issue of day-to-day running of the organization. So they will appoint managers to undertake these tasks for them. So now when they have appointed managers to look after day-to-day operations of the business, now this will leave the directors with a lot of free time to focus on creating and managing high-level strategies for the organization, while the managers just focus on the day-to-day operations of the business. Let's say, for example, the directors may decide that the organization is going to launch a new product or will open a chain of new stores, and the managers will be in charge of decisions such as hiring or firing junior staff and dealing with customer complaints. So this is how there is separation of direction and management, and at times even direction and ownership and management in larger organization. Next is the concept of scalar chain. So we all know that communication is a very crucial aspect of any organization, and the principle of scalar chain revolves around the flow of communication from management to the lowest rank in the company. So scalar chain is a chain of all supervisors from the top management to the person who is working at the lowest rank. A clear line of communication is very important in any organization to achieve its objectives. So the communication has to flow in an order to be effective. It is the scalar chain that identifies that path. According to this principle, any information should follow a predefined path, which is from the supervisor to the one who is lowest in the position. And this way you can make sure that you avoid any ambiguity. Now this chain pattern should be followed at every department of the organization to be effective, and the process should not be tinkered with so that it remains effective. Next concept is span of control. So span of control refers to the number of subordinates under a manager's direct control. So for example, say there is a manager who has 5 people who report to him, then his span of control is 5. Now there are a number of factors that can influence this span of control. For example, the size of the organization. So size of an organization has a great influence on span of control. Larger organizations tend to have wider span of control than the smaller organizations. The next factor is nature of an organization. So culture of an organization also has a great influence. More relaxed and flexible culture is consistent with wider span of control, whereas if there is a hierarchical culture, then it is consistent with narrow span of control. So it is very important to consider the current as well as the desired culture of the organization when deciding the span of control. The next factor is nature of job. So routine and low complexity jobs or tasks will require less supervision than the jobs that are more complicated, are not clearly defined, and require frequent decision making. So we should always consider having a wider span of control for jobs that require lesser supervision and a narrow span of control for more complex and vague kind of a job. The next deciding factor is skills and competencies of manager. So more experienced supervisors or managers can generally have a wider span of control than the less experienced supervisors. So it's always best to consider to what degree supervisors and managers are responsible for technical aspects of the job. Next deciding factor is employees' skills and abilities. So if there are less experienced employees, then they would require more training and direction. So in that case, you need to have narrower span of control. On the other hand, if you have more experienced employees who require less training and direction and of course then less supervision, then you can have a wider span of control. Then next deciding factor is type of interaction between supervisors and employees. If more frequent interaction or supervision is required, then we need a narrower span of control. And if less interaction is required, then we can have wider span of control. Now let's discuss tall and flat organizations, another kind of organizational structure. So let's discuss the tall organizations first. I'm sure the word tall gives you a clue as to how this type of structure is organized within a company. So tall structures are vertical, which means a top-down management style in which the CEO of the company or the top leader establishes the work culture, the goals and the strategies and communicates these concepts to the middle level management and supervisors that are responsible for implementing these processes through lower level employees. So this type of structure is most effective in larger companies that require a rigid hierarchy to maintain workplace efficiency. In tall structure, there are often multiple departments that are headed by managers, with team supervisors as the next level below management, and then there are workers at the bottom. So if you can see that one of the primary advantages of a tall structure is that there is a clear chain of command and employees understand who makes important decisions and then which employees are important for specific tasks and how promotions are earned in the organization. So this was about tall organization. Now let's come to the flat type of organization. Again, flat word also gives a hint as to what kind of structure it is. So a flat structure is horizontal in nature because there are very few managers or supervisors and lower level of employees are given more freedom and authority to do their jobs. So unlike a tall structure where there is a rigid chain of command from top to bottom, a flat structure has the concept of bottom-up organization that takes the advantages of all the skills and talents and creative imaginations that low-level employees can bring to the company. So in this type of structure, workers are not obliged to obtain some prior approval to make decisions that affect their productivity, and they are often encouraged to submit ideas and changes that can improve workplace efficiency. Next concept is offshoring. So offshoring is the process of relocating the business operations to a different country where cheap labor or resources are available. And generally this country is a developing nation. So now here in offshoring, the company is not seeking any global retailing. So instead it is just looking forward to minimizing the cost of manufacturing and other supporting services. Now offshoring offers a lot of benefits. Let's discuss these benefits one by one. So it lets company concentrate on core business. So when a company offshores its other services, it has more time, resources and money which is left to focus on its core functions. The next is cost reduction. So the most crucial reason of offshoring is to cut down the labor cost and other operating expenses. Then next is cheap and skilled workforce. So offshoring gives an opportunity for a company to get competent and cost efficient labor available in a developing nation. Next, complete assistance. The offshore team holds expertise in its field, so it provides a relevant solution to every problem related to the production of services offshore. Then it provides better control. Through offshoring, the company can ensure proper management and regulation of all its operations. The next benefit is streamlining of processes. So offshoring ensures that a dedicated team is working on the offshore product to complete the assignment efficiently and effectively. Then another advantage is 24/7 services, which is otherwise not possible in the domestic business unit. Offshoring then also offers the benefit of tax. Then many developing nations provide various types of incentives like tax holidays to attract companies for foreign direct investment. And last but not the least, risk mitigation. When the business operations are offshore to multiple countries, the company has a low risk of failure or bankruptcy. So here we have seen how offshoring can be beneficial to a company. Next concept is shared services approach. Now, if there are different departments in an organization or different functions in an organization, and there are usually some services which are offered in every department or every function. So those services are called common services. So now this approach involves restructuring the organization so that instead of that common service being found in several different parts of the organization, it is centralized into one specific part of the organization. Now for example, suppose there is a medium-sized business which has a couple of staff in each department that deals with the IT for that part of the organization. So a shared service approach would be to form a distinct IT department that all the IT staff were transferred into, and then this IT department would offer IT services to the entire organization. Now this approach also has several advantages, like it can give improved quality of services, then improved consistency in the services given. There will be a lot of savings because there will be greater efficiency and reduced duplication of roles. But the thing to note here is that a shared service approach is just more than simply centralizing the function into one place. So shared services often involves running the services, for example IT, like a separate business within the organization, and by charging the rest of the organization for the use of that service. Another method of analyzing an organizational structure is by the reference to the level at which decisions are made. So that is centralization and decentralized structure. In centralized structure, the upper levels of an organization retain the authority to make decisions, and in decentralized structure, the authority to take decisions is passed down to the units and people at lower levels. So the factors that will affect the amount of decentralization are management style, ability of the management, the geographic spread of the company, then size of the organization or scale of activities. Now, decentralization offers a lot of advantages to the company. For example, if a company is decentralized, then senior managers are free to concentrate on strategy, and other lesser important matters are decentralized. Then better local decisions are made due to local expertise. If company is located geographically in different locations, then of course the managers who are managing that division of the country can take decisions, and this offers expertise. Then people or employees have better motivation because they also get training and get a better career path. Then there is quick response and decision making and flexibility because a smaller chain of command operates. Now, along with advantages, there are also some disadvantages of decentralization, like the senior management loses the control and there could be dysfunctional decision making due to lack of goal congruence, and even poor decision making as decisions could be made by inexperienced managers. Another way of classifying an organization is...
So we have come to the end of the presentation. I thank you all for hearing me out patiently. And here on the screen you can see some of the references that I have used, and you can also use to further enhance your knowledge on the subject. I thank you all once again.